So I think AIPAC, of course, is the Israel lobby. It's been extremely influential for decades. It's a significant campaign funder, but it's also one of the paradoxes of American power, which is that a few $100 million buys tens of billions of dollars of U.S. response. Basically, our Congress sells itself for very cheap. If you have, a few $100 million, you too can buy American foreign policy. This is the ironic part of this. What to do? My view is that this will change, actually, but I want it to change fast because the danger is very high, and literally every day Netanyahu is trying to provoke a war with Iran right now, which could quickly escalate into something absolutely awful. I think two things can change this. One is American public opinion, which I say doesn't count for very much in these issues, but is absolutely against what Israel's doing. And this has been a shocking period. It's so vulgar, it's so out there, the bombing is so relentless, the viciousness of it is so terrible that it has shocked the American people, especially young people, but actually the few times I've said that on air, lots of older people have written to me indignantly saying, I'm against Israel too, what it's doing. So it's actually a pretty widespread view. The second thing is that world opinion is shocked. And not only world opinion, political opinion worldwide. So I hang out at the UN. Israel has no backing at the UN for what it's doing. What it has is the US veto and Europe, as usual, hiding behind the US or abstaining in votes. Even the European Union's divided because it's so awful what's going on that Ireland and Spain and Norway and others are recognizing the state of Palestine, despite the US saying don't do that. But on resolution after resolution, there's an overwhelming majority against Israel's actions. There was this July an International Court of Justice ruling on the illegality of Israel's occupation. I think there's likely to be an ICJ ruling in the coming months that will find, I believe, Israel to be in violation of the 1948 Genocide Convention. That also will be a shocking moment, and I think it's likely, although you can only imagine the lobbying pressure that is being put on right now. So these are two forces that are at play. My idea specifically is I'm urging, actually quite actively, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and the Arab League to put forward a specific plan now. Now, I believe, based on international law, that the only way forward that can possibly become established is a state of Palestine agreed on international law alongside a state of Israel. And that the two-state solution, which goes back to the 1947 partition plan, is enmeshed in countless UN Security Council and General Assembly resolutions and the ICJ ruling, which talks about the border of the 4th of June, 1967, before the Six-Day War. So what I am urging and hoping for is that the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which is 57 Islamic majority nations, and the Arab League specifically, put forward a plan for a two-state solution, peace, UN Security Council oversight of armed forces to keep the two sides apart, I think more than normal peacekeepers, but really stationing troops basically to keep the two sides apart, and Iran saying, yes, we stop our aid to Hezbollah and to Hamas in the context of a state of Palestine being achieved, and the U.S. says we drop the sanctions against Iran at the same moment. So we put all the pieces together and say, voila, this is something that is of mutual benefit for everybody. The only one that opposes this, in my view, is the extremists in Israel, represented by Netanyahu, Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, and the other extremists in this utterly obnoxious and genocidal government that is in power in Israel right now. And it's just one vote away, in my estimation, which is the U.S. veto. And I believe that if the security state in the United States looks honestly and dispassionately at this, if the American people understand how many wars Netanyahu has led the American people into and what a disaster this has been, that actually it's possible to change. It's not a sure deal by any means, but I want the rest of the world to say to the United States, you, not Israel, you are the obstacle to peace, the only obstacle remaining, because we don't need Israel's approval for this. Why should Israel have a veto over a state of Palestine? Of course it has no veto in international law. It's you, the United States, that's using the veto, and I want the world to say that clearly with a plan and to be able to say to the Israeli people, this is not about squandering your safety, it's about actually your safety as in a most fundamental way.